The Swan Princess: A Legend is Born is the newest in a long line of direct-to-DVD or video animated movies based off the original Swan Princess movie, animated movie. So this movie follows the journey of Queen Uberta from her humble beginnings as a queen, trying to struggle with becoming a queen, all the way to her giving up the crown to Odette and Derek as they are crowned the new queen and king of their country. So, like I said, this is like the 11th Swan Princess film, based off the original one from the 90s. It was an animated movie that came out in theaters, and then they had a few direct-to-video movies. They were all hand-drawn animation, and slowly, as they went on, they became CG animated movies. They kept coming out direct-to-video. I've only seen, I want to say, the first 3 movies, maybe just the first 2. I really enjoyed the first one. It was a good movie in my opinion, and it's a little underrated. I don't think a lot of people talk about it. Not perfect, but it does a lot of things well, and I thought it was entertaining when I was younger. Like I said, I've never really watched a lot of these direct-to-DVD movies. They're usually kind of bad for several reasons. Lack of budget, lack of manpower, whatever the reason is. They're just meant to be, I don't want to say cash grab, but they're meant to be put out pretty quickly so someone can make some money. And, they're put out in the cheap, so they don't really put a lot of money to the budget. Like I said, direct-to-DVD, this one came out May of this year, 2023. And it is the 11th movie. There's also a second one that's supposed to come out this year. Supposedly, at least that's what I saw online. So we'll see if it comes out this year or maybe next year. So that'll make 12 of these movies. And like I said, it's a direct-to-DVD movie, so the quality isn't very good. It's CGI animated, and it does a lot well, I think. I think the animation's okay for whatever their budget might have been. It's not horrendous. I don't think it looks amazing by several standards, by TV standards, by movie standards, but for a direct-to-DVD movie with, probably doesn't have a big audience, I think it did well in animation. Like, I'm not going to harp too much on the animation. I think this could definitely be a video where I just go on a rant about how, bad the animation is, but I think it's fine. It works. A lot of people worked hard on this movie, and I think it does kind of show. It isn't horrendous. I don't think I noticed a bunch of flaws or anything. It's perfectly competent, and that's what you want for one of these direct-to-DVD movies. Or direct-to-video movies. Like I keep saying, it's direct-to-video, so low budget. Keep your standards low. No high expectations. So usually the thing that really hurts these movies, in my opinion, besides the animation, I don't want to harp on the animation, is usually the story. I think you could have a low-budget movie that maybe doesn't look fantastic, but it's still really good because of the story. I've seen a few movies or shows like that where I'm like, well, it doesn't look great, but, I like the characters and I like the story. This movie didn't have the best story. I feel like it was a little disjointed. Like I said, we start in the past with Queen Uberta, sorry, I forgot her name, Queen Uberta, as she becomes queen, and we follow her journey all the way up to where we are at the end of her journey as queen, and like it just makes it feel disjointed. I really feel like this might have been planned as a series, and it could have been several episodes, so it kind of feels a little bit disjointed, but it does come together at the end, I guess you can say. I wasn't a fan of the story. I don't really like the journey, and like I said, we're supposed to follow Queen Uberta as she becomes kind of like not a really experienced queen, and trying to understand her responsibilities to this amazing queen, finally giving up her crown to the next generation, and then the next generation receiving the crown and taking up her duties and mantles. I don't think it does a fantastic job at showing how fantastic she is. There's a montage at the end of the movie that I think does a little bit of a good job of showing how good of a queen she actually was. But it's a montage of a lot of clips from the past movies, I assume, that I haven't seen. And it kind of didn't work for me because I didn't understand the full context of those moments. Just, they were, someone was giving a speech and explaining how good of a queen was. And it didn't really work because I feel like it was the movie's job to get us to feel like she was this fantastic queen. Like, we shouldn't have to go back and watch several other movies to be like, yeah, she's pretty good. Overall, I give this movie a 4 out of 10. There's really a big thing that kind of bugs me about this movie, besides the story not being fantastic. And I'm going to talk about it right now. If you haven't seen the movie, it's on Netflix right now. It's an hour and a half. It's not very offensive. If you love the Swan Princess, characters in the series, go check it out. Anyone else, I wouldn't really recommend it. It's not horrendous, but I don't think it's really worth your time. So I'm going to talk spoilers. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, spoilers. So like I said, this follows Queen Uberta's journey. Her great far removed uncle or something dies as king, and she becomes the new queen, her and her husband Max. So they take up the mantles, and they first have to figure out, what kind of royalty they want to be. And this is, I think, where one of the flaws really comes in, where Uberta really seems like a bad queen. She really comes off as a bad queen, in my opinion, in this movie. So her husband, Max, decides that he wants to help these thieves and, badly poor people to, have better lives. So he convinces the barons and their other royalty to give them jobs on their land so they can, work and become better people. Because they form this council of crowns, of kings and queens, who want to manage all their kingdoms together. And they're kind of like this court, a round table. So they decide policies and everything together. And at first, a lot of the kings are like, we want to build more jails and throw all these people in jails. But he's like, no, I want to help these people. So he ends up helping these people. But while he's doing that, Uberta, her big freaking thing as royalty is to help animals, or specifically dogs, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But while her husband's helping all these people who are, need help feeding themselves and feeding their people, she's over here throwing a dog show against this other, her evil rival queen, which just makes her seem like a bad queen. Like, she doesn't care. She's like, I care more about the dogs than my people. And that's kind of like her big thing. And this is like the first half of the movie, so it doesn't work. And then we do a fast forward where she gives birth to her son Derek, and her husband Max ends up dying. Like, he wants to help these pirates, who are attacking the port. He's like, we need to reach out to them and say, stop this and become good people. But a lot of kings don't agree with him. So something mysterious happens. He ends up dying from the pirates, or at least we assume it's the pirates. It's obviously something shady happened. I think some of the other kings kind of try to kill him or something. And so Uberta has to learn how to be queen without her husband. And I thought this is where she was going to pick up and become like this amazing queen. But it kind of doesn't really happen. The next thing that happens is that the king, Odette's dad and mom, her mom gives birth to Odette, and she ends up dying in childbirth. So the king kind of gets left with Odette, which makes for a good emotional moment. Like, he's super sad and grieving that he lost his, the love of his life. And Queen Uberta goes to talk to him and be like, pick yourself up, your daughter needs you and everything like that. And it makes for a good moment. But besides that, that's my only good part of the movie that I like, and really the only part that works, I think, that shows the potential of the story. But then we fast forward to the present. I think it is the present, where, again, this is where not watching the past movies works against this movie. Apparently, Uberta sometime became a secret star. She's like this singer at this fancy place. Well, not fancy place, but she's this amazing singer that everyone loves, and she's in disguise, so no one knows she's the queen. And I was just like, where did this come from? It really came out of left field, because I hadn't seen the other movies. And I feel like the other movies kind of show where she became this super secret, amazing singer. But anyway, she decides that she loves singing and she wants to give up being the queen. So she goes to Odette and Derek and says, hey, I'm going to stop being queen and you guys are going to be queen. And then we follow her and Odette as the queen is giving one orders. And Odette is kind of just like, I don't know about this. Everything, again, that Queen Uberta is doing is kind of comes off as horrible. She's bossing everyone around and kind of extreme ways. They're like, she wants certain flowers, and they're like, well, we don't have these flowers in seasons. She's like, well, have you looked like super far away for them? You know, in the West Fields or whatever, the West Lands, or in like, her chef is just like, I've made like 20 courses for this meal, and she's like, well, you can do better. The same thing with like the dressmaker and everything. She keeps pushing them, and she makes it seem like it's a good thing. Like she's singing this song, like, oh, you know, you just gotta, you know, push them the extra mile, and they'll love it for doing something amazing. But it really comes off as just being a horrible fucking ruler. Sorry about that. Even Odette sees that, but then, like, by the time of the coronation, they're like, oh yeah, we love that you pushed us. Everything you pushed us to do is amazing, and we're happy. Which just doesn't work. Like, I don't believe it. It's like you kind of pushed them too hard to do like these crazy things, and it works out in the end, but realistically I don't think it would. And again, it kind of shows how she's a bad queen. She's like, oh, I know what the potential of my people are, but it's just like the way you're bossing them around to do all this work that they probably don't get paid for. Like, come on, you're coming off as a bad queen. Anyway, they do the coronation, and you know, a bunch of mischief happens, and they're like, oh no, Queen Uberta messed up the coronation. But Odette, you know, does this long speech, which again has the flashback showing all her good actions for the past movie, Queen Uberta's actions. And you know, it makes her seem good, and I think that scene kind of works. Again, without seeing those movies, I guess it would have been better if I had seen them. But they're like, yeah, Queen Uberta's amazing and everything. And then Odette and Derek become the new queen and king. And that's almost where the movie ends. And this is where it kind of makes me mad. So this painter that King Max, Queen Uberta's husband, saved from the streets, shows up at the end of the movie with this big picture of her husband. And it's like a really nice moment. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess they're just going to end it paying respect to the old king. But it ends to be continued. Like some of the people, the painter and the advisor guy, they're whispering over on the side while Odette and Derek are looking at the painting. They're like, does Derek know? They're like, no, he doesn't know. And then all of a sudden it just says to be continued, and it kind of annoyed me. I was like, how is this a 2-part movie? So I read up on it, and I guess the other movie that's coming out this year that I mentioned is supposed to be the final movie in this franchise. I don't know if they're going to reboot it or whatever after, but with this canon continuity, that's the word I was looking for. Apparently they're going to end that and probably start fresh. I don't know if they're going to start fresh, that's just my assumption, but they are going to end this canon, which is probably a good thing, because like I said, I didn't watch all these movies, so there was a lot that I didn't know. Like, they had Odette and Derek have their own daughter who has her own relationship that I think she's engaged. I don't know. Their daughter just kind of showed up in like one scene, and then she was kind of in the background. So yeah, that's kind of made me lower my rating for this movie. I think I was like at a 5, maybe a 6 before, but as the movie went on, I was just like, I did not care for it, and the to be continued was kind of like, no, it doesn't work for me. It's like this movie didn't work as a movie as itself. Like I said, it could have been a series of small little episodes that were crammed together. So whatever the next movie is, I feel like they probably could have maybe combined these movies without seeing the second one. At least that's what I think. I guess we'll find out when the next one comes out. Like I said, I don't recommend this movie. If you're a fan of the Swan Princess series, yeah, go watch it. If you're not, don't. Like I said, it's a direct-to-video movie, so the budget isn't there, but the thing that really hurts it is the story. Even if you don't have the budget for good animation, I think you can still have good story writers, and it just doesn't, show. It doesn't show as a really good story. It has potential. I think it really had potential of being a good story. It just didn't happen. So if you watched it, what did you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you a fan of this franchise? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.